Hello world, in today's video this is lesson 2 of the GUI tutorials for GUIZERO, and in today's lesson we are going to step it up a little bit and we're going to create our first interactive program with the GUI. So we're going to be looking at widgets. So a widget is just something that you have on the GUI. It could be a text box, it could be a button that you push. So we're going to get started with that. And to do that, we need to import some things. So we need to, from GUIZERO, we need to import, and we're going to import the app. We're going to import text. We're going to need a text box. We're going to need a push button. Just thinking if we need anything else. The info box. I think that's it. Yep. So that's cool. So then we're going to create our app. So app equals app. Open, close brackets. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a function. So the program I'm thinking of is just a little graphical user interface with a title, a text box, a button. You're going to put your name into the text box, click the button, and it's going to give you a little pop-up box or an info box that will display a message. So to do that, we're going to need a function. So I'm going to define a function and I'm going to call it, it's going to be for when our button is pressed. Button when clicked. So it's always good to try to label your things, your elements that you're using. So for instance, this function is going to work with a button, so I've put btn on it. Okay, so button when clicked. Because it's a function, we need obviously parentheses, and inside this I'm going to tell it that when this function runs, I want it to call an info box. So I'm going to say info, and the very first thing I'm going to put in this info box is going to be the title of the info box. So I'll use a string, and whatever I put in here will be the title that appears on that little box. So I'm going to put it, I'm going to just call it, let's call it my box. Okay, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have it say, the message on it I want it to do is I want it to say hello. And I want it to say the name. Now the name is going to come from our sort of our text box. It's going to come from our text box. So I'm going to call it txt underscore name. And I want it to get the value of that box. So I'll explain this a bit more in a minute, and then let's put in another little message, and we could say something like, ooh, hope you are having a nice day, exclamation mark. So just something like that. So that's our function created. So I'm going to drop out of that. So in this part, I'm going to just put a comment in. I'm going to say, this is the stuff I want in the GUI. So what do I want? So the first thing I want is I want a label. And I'm going to say name. Equal it to text. And I want it to display on the app. That's what I think of that anyway. Comma. And I'm going to say text equals what is your name? Question mark. Okay, and that is my label. So that will appear on the GUI. And then underneath that, I want to have the text box. So the text box needs to be called the same as I called it here. Okay, so I'm going to call it txt underscore name. And that is going to be set to a text box. Simple as that. And we're going to tell it where we want it, and we want it on the app. Okay, so then the third thing is our actual button. So this seems a little bit more complicated, but I'll try to explain it as we go. So we're going to call it a button underscore, and we'll call it button active. I don't know, it's an active button that I want it to click. And we'll equal that to a push button. And then we are going to tell it where we want it, app. And then we need to run the command. So the command essentially, how can I explain this? So the command basically tells the program what function we want it to run. So we'll set this equal to the name of our function that we want it to call. So my function is button when clicked. Okay. And then what we'll do is we need to give the button some text to display. We could have a blank button, but that's really silly. So we just call this text equals and a string, and we'll call it click me. Okay, and that's click me. And that is all the code we need to get this program to work. Apart from, don't forget this, okay, and that is the app.display. Okay, and without app.display, nothing's going to show up. So let me save this and let's hit that magic run button. And there we go. So we can see that so far so good. We've got our graphical user interface. Now I haven't given this a title. If you go back to lesson 1, okay, you can learn how to do the title here. So it says, what is your name? So if we look here, so what is your name? That's the label name equal to text appearing on here, app, so on and so forth. And here we've got text name, text box. Here's our text box. And then we've got our button, and there's our button. And you can see here where we put click me, and it says click me. So you should start to see how the code is affecting the look of the GUI. So if I click in here, hopefully, and I put my name, teacher of computing, and I click the button, yay, we got a info box pop up. And you can see here that the info box says my box, and there's that, my box. And then it's hello, teacher of computing. Hope you are having a nice day. Now, if you see here, there's no space between hello and teacher. You can see that's because I didn't put a space here. So that's all to do with your string concatenation. So make sure that you are familiar with how that works. It's really easy to fix. We just need to put a space in here and in the right places. And that will look much more professional and better. So like I said, when this is run, we grab the value from the text box, and that's how it's grabbing that into there, and it's appearing in the function. Okay, very, very cool. So, of course, if you look back on lesson 1, you should be able to figure out how to change the size of what is your name. So that's label name. So if I close that, and if we think back to that first lesson, label name dot, and there's all different things we can do here. Okay, so there's loads of different things, and we're going to be having a look at some of these very shortly. But if I just set that to set text size 40 and save it and run, And there we go. Wrong thing set. So that's massive now. That's probably too big. So we could drop that down. See if that's any better. You know, I always forget to close the graphical user interface. There we go. That looks a bit better. Okay, a bit bigger. So yeah, that is lesson 2 done and dusted. So there was quite a bit in there to get to grips with, especially if you're new to programming. But have a practice, have a go at this. Go back and watch lesson 1 if you haven't done so already. Get ready for lesson 3. We're going to be using multiple text boxes in that and doing a little bit of playing about with verification. So something not to miss out on. So click the subscribe button, click the little bell, and then that way you can follow along next time. Thanks for watching.